When I reviewed The Truman Show, I said that it's based on such a specific universal concept that any derivative works will inevitably be compared with it. Big is the same. Any age progression story will inevitably be compared with Big, although Big is by no means the originator of that concept. Just as The Truman Show was a retelling of the analogy of the cave in Plato's Republic for the age of cable television, Big's origins go right back to the Greek myth of the goddess Athena, whose age progressed before she was born, so she began life as an adult. They say being a child is the best time of one's life, though I found in my limited experience of adulthood that not to be the case at all. Adulthood has its burdens, and their absence makes childhood what it is, but they're outweighed by the exclusive advantages that can't be enjoyed during childhood. Adulthood enables the serious development of skills, the appreciation of fine culture rather than just popular culture, and the expansion of intellect. It's not common amongst most adults, but that's why I'm thankful to be able to say that I have them. Even the way I'm expressing myself now is something I wouldn't be able to do as succinctly as I would as a child, and the same goes for my understanding of films. As a 13-year-old, I'd have probably watched a film like Big and thought of it as nothing more than entertainment, but psychological maturity means I can understand its subtext and emotional depth. What makes Joshua Baskin's story so compelling is that his experience of adulthood as a child is still so relatable. I often worry that I haven't really learned how to adult and have to remind myself that no one actually has. We're all just doing our best. Only when one becomes an adult is the false myth of the adult dispelled. They're not gods, they're just giants. There are times when I feel like a child with imposter syndrome, that I haven't really earned my place among the grown-ups in the room, and can often end up second-guessing myself because I've forgotten that they see me as one of their own, as I am. Maybe this is the typical experience of one's 20s, or maybe it carries on throughout life, but it's what I'm dealing with right now. The challenge of a film like Big is that the screenplay can only do so much. The story requires an actor who can completely embody a child convincingly without falling back on cliches. Tom Hanks, in his first Academy Award nominated performance, was the perfect actor for the role because he really is like a child in a man's body. He seems as though he's been able to retain the childlike wonder of the world that so many adults shared to leave behind. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that the story was conceived as a vehicle for him. What makes his performance so great is that he doesn't just act like a child, but instead imitates the average child actor. One of the reasons it's so convincing is because director Penny Marshall brought in David Moscow, the younger Josh Baskin, to act out the scenes scripted for Tom Hanks in order for him to understand how a child would act in that scenario. I can't think of any other actor who'd have made Big such a success apart from maybe Zachary Levi from Shazam, the superhero version of Big, who was younger than David Moscow was at the time, and Robin Williams, who did audition along with a bunch of other actors who were completely unsuited to it. Even then, without Tom Hanks, there wouldn't be so many iconic moments from the film that were included directly because of him. The rap Josh sings with Billy, Tom Hanks' son came up with that at summer camp. The scene with the silly string, Tom Hanks came up with that when in a room full of toys with David Moscow. The way Josh eats baby corn, Hanks came up with that too. He drew upon his son's life, he bonded with the child actor he was working with, he threw in little subtleties to put himself into the mind of a child. That's what makes his performance such a joy to watch, although the film has since been adapted into a stage play. I'm interested in seeing it to compare how the effectiveness of the age progression differs between media. Would the nature of the staged version make it more authentic? I think it might. Supposedly, Big is a family comedy, but really it's a mostly child-friendly comedy drama for adults because only an adult can understand it properly. We all understand the feeling of realising just how quickly time has passed, of how soon death will be upon us, but the only way to really express that is to eliminate the period in between, which is completely arbitrary. The very legal concept of adulthood is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. It doesn't reflect the reality of differences between individuals and only exists to be fair to everyone. A person doesn't really become an adult on their 18th birthday. There are young athletes who've grown up taking their sport so seriously that they've already achieved mental maturity. Some men don't reach that until they're 25. So I'm told. So only by making the leap from early teens to adulthood immediate can we see the difference we otherwise wouldn't. Something I find ironic about the film is the subplot sending up a typical out-of-touch corporation that doesn't know what children want because it only understands numbers, yet the film is itself produced by 20th Century Fox, which did more to expand film merchandising into a mainstream industry than any other studio, including the Walt Disney Company, which now owns the studio and the film while doing exactly the opposite of what the film preaches. Perhaps we all grow up to become the thing we fear. Do you know which other director was also offered big?
Hi, I'm John Landis, and I would like you to subscribe to Alexander Sigworth's YouTube channel, because it's incredibly important for world peace.